Should I say any
Yes,
questions?
it's from Aquila, and she's asking, do male lions know their cubs by smell or by memory from having mated with the lioness at a certain time that would indicate that they have fathered the cubs?
Just first of all, the question is from Aquila, if I have it right. Beautiful name. Can mean eagle in certain languages. Aquila, you're asking if lion males can recognize their cubs from smell. Now, I'm not going to tell you yes or no on that because I can't give you a definite answer. But what I can tell you is just from other bits of information that I know about lions and how their smell work, is that I don't think it's necessarily the case that they can recognize them from smell. It's more likely a case of those males know that if they've been with lionesses for a while, that should be their offspring. In other words, if a female goes into estrus at all, if the lioness even just has a hint of estrus happening, those males pick it up. As you know, they do phlegmon. We've often seen animals, most mammals do it. They smell the urine of the female, and with that, the Jacobson's organ, they can test and they say, okay, this female's almost in estrus, we mustn't leave her alone now. We're not going to let her go anywhere, we're not going to leave her out of our sight. And they literally will stick with her until she's in proper estrus, and then for that whole mating period, they will stay with her. If it's one male only, sometimes both males will mate with her in that period of time as well. But so from that then, they should just know that if they've been with the pride long enough, those offspring should be theirs. But in terms of the smell, why I don't think they smell them is when you bond different lions. Now again, I mentioned earlier, you can catch lions maybe to relocate to other reserves, or maybe to start new populations, or to get your genetic mixes right. And you can do that. But what they do quite often is to bond those lions. You can put them together while they're drugged, and you can put their scents on each other so that they feel more familiar with each other, and they will bond. Now this is something that not that long ago people thought wasn't really that possible. They thought strange lions will always fight. One of the things that helps with that, again, it's not necessarily all been proven scientifically, but a very good friend of mine has done a lot of this work. It works, so that is a good proof. Is just for mixing the scent, they've got a lot of glands around the whisker area, so all the way around the facial area, you rub that scent, you get a cloth and you rub their face, and you go and rub it on the other lion. Now you might have seen lions, when they greet each other, they come walking up to each other, and they rub their faces against each other, rub their bodies against each other, especially that whisker area. And that is just a way for that pride to bond themselves with scent. Apart from when they just play around with each other and groom each other, rubbing their faces like that is a very, very strong part of their scent bonding in the pride. So my point is, to get it back to the question that you were asking, Killer, is that if a male lion had an offspring a couple of months later, you would presume it's his, because it's part of his pride and they've been together for long enough, and that cub would very, very soon after birth obviously smell like the mother, and it would soon after, when it gets introduced back into the pride, smell like the other pride members as well. It will smell like the other cubs, it will smell like the male, because they will do the scent marking. But the first few weeks after birth, the males don't even see those cubs. So for them to know when it's not theirs, I would say is very, very unlikely. Now it's not impossible, I know it's happened before, where a female might be in estrus and maybe she's just a little bit away from the pride or whatever. There's been documentaries about it, it's been seen before as well, and she might sort of on the sly mate with another male. In that case, those cubs could be back in the pride as well, and those males might not know that it's theirs. So I hope that answers your question. Like I said, it's not a definite yes or no, but I'm pretty certain that smell plays a relatively small part in them knowing that it's their genetic offspring. The fact that they know it's theirs, obviously smell is important, because those cubs smell like other members in the pride. More questions, Jan?
Yes, Pieter, a pretty funny one. It's also from Sandy, and she's asking, do you really think you were a baboon as a small child? One of the boards says you did.
Yeah, Sandy, sorry, this is something that I mentioned a while back when we were looking at baboons. First of all, very interesting animals, and I'm sure they're very interesting because a lot of us can see a lot of us in them, and maybe they can see some of them in us as well. But basically, I did actually think like that for a while. When I was a little boy, about 3 years old, 4 years old, so you're already talking quite a bit and discovering your natural world and digging things and eating sand and picking leaves and learning about the world like you tend to do. I was very lucky to live in a very, very small town, so small that it was almost like living in the bush. It was a very small place right on the edge of a dry riverbed in the sort of western deserts of Namibia, and you didn't see a lot of big wildlife. You saw kudu, you saw gemsbuck, steenbuck, springbuck, a lot of your desert antelopes, and in a little mountain area not too far from there called the Spitskoppe, which is a very, very beautiful area. There's a lot of interesting things about those mountains as well in many different aspects, but you would see baboons there, so I did find them fascinating, and my dad did tell me that story with a little glint in his eye, which he still has even when he's talking to me now about a lot of things. And for a while I believed it. It wasn't a good story. I didn't feel bad about it. I guess just because My parents smiled when they told me the story. I was quite happy with it. And I did like climbing, and I liked tying things, and I liked exploring things. So for a while I thought it was not all that impossible. Obviously, after not that long, you realize that it's not that possible, and realize it's just a good story. It's something that I'll probably tell my kids one day as well, especially if they're little boys running around in the bush. So yes, and I did believe that for a while, but it didn't stick. I'm quite sure I'm not a baboon anymore, even though I do feel like it sometimes. James is grinning there as well. I don't know, maybe James, did you ever think you're a baboon? James says no. My father always said, your father might be a baboon, but not my father. Any other questions, Jan?
Yes, Peter, it's from Carrie, and she said that I heard hippos are carnivorous. Is this true?
Carrie, the question about hippos being... My leg is falling asleep, sorry. Let's try and move it a little bit. For hippos being carnivorous, no, they're not. They're purely herbivores. They wouldn't be able to chew food very well if they did eat meat. They are grazers. They go out at night and they eat lots and lots of grass. Where the confusion might sometimes come from that they might be carnivorous is there's been I've seen some video footage of it, I've seen it in documentaries, I've seen it even live on game drives in other areas, that sometimes, let's say there is lions have killed something right on the bank of a riverbed or next to a dam. The hippo might sometimes chase the lions away just because they're lions, and hippos don't like lions very much. Or it might even interfere sometimes while the lions are hunting. They'll get involved with it. And then there has been cases where it's been seen that the hippo then bites that animal or bites the carcass, goes and chews on it. But it's more like a curiosity really, where the hippo might go and have a look at it and see what it's about and maybe chew on it a little bit to see what it's about. But for them actually living off meat, it's not possible. The way their stomachs are designed, they've got a big, I call it a hindgut fermenting stomach, something very similar to a rhino or an elephant. And they eat large volumes of grass, and the food is broken down by bacteria. So they're not carnivorous, they are purely herbivores. Thank you for sending questions through. It really is. I keep asking Jan if there's questions. I guess I should ask you guys if there's more questions. It really is quite nice just to be able to chat a little bit, and in some way it almost brings whoever you guys might be even closer to you just doing this for a little bit. Any other questions, Jan?
No, not at this time.
Okay, cool. I think we're going to say goodbye. I was going to come back here 6:15, answer a few more questions, but 6:15 has come and gone. So fantastic. We've been chatting for quite a while, and let's do some more of this. I'm enjoying it. James is chuckling there as well. He's also enjoying it. It's a little bit of a different game drive today, and the car is working fantastic. It hasn't given us problems once. So we're going to do another. Let's say just before 7, 5 to 7 or so. We normally our drives end at 7. 5 to 7 we'll be back here again on the vehicle, and maybe have 1 or 2 more questions. There's a happy birthday that I want to send out as well at the end of it, and we'll see you again in just over half an hour. I think we're going to have another cup of tea. In the meantime, thank you so much for sending questions through. Thank you for spending some time out here with us, and we see you soon. From James on camera, Jan in the control center, and myself, Pieter, and everyone in WildEarth, fantastic having you with us. We'll see you soon. Cheers. My leg is falling asleep.